And we're live. All
We
right.
are.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another live stream of Reactionary Opinions, the most based and reactionary show on the African continent. Now, I know the title says Three Based Bros, but unfortunately, Mr. Patriarch has some things to do this evening.
Yeah,
So,
things to do.
Yeah. But anyway, we will let him do those things, and I know that he is here in spirit. Okay, sending out some more anathema to the liberal degenerates of the world, and yeah. Anyway, let's jump right into the topic. I think someone might have got offended by our title of the thing because they put it down, like a thumbs down, on the original link that I put up, and I think someone thought we were, when we say "is the church broken," maybe we're talking about his church down the road or something. That's just stop that stuff now, man. But
well, we can expand on why sometimes, if it is that type of thing, we can expand about how that is one of the problems,
Yeah, look, I do think it's important to explain what we mean by when we say the church. I think in a broad sense, we're just sort of talking about a communal group of people that would classify themselves as Christians. So we're not talking about a specific denomination or anything like that. Let's not be ridiculous. But hey, how's a dodgy idealist? Welcome, you ortho Chad. But yeah, we're not talking about a specific denomination. That's why I like our channels so much, because Russell is a Calvinist, I'm a Roman Catholic, and Dylan is an Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox. But what that brings to the table is a fantastic dynamic where we can actually show to Christians out there that we can unite together as Christians under the fundamentals of Christianity. And I think that's vitally, vitally important for us at this point in time, where Christianity as a whole, or the church as a whole, is very much under attack. And I am going to say is quite broken at this point in time. But obviously, let's not I'm not calling for people to lose or despair or lose faith and that sort of thing, because we must understand that Christ is our faith, okay, and that's where it lies. Our faith lies in Christ, and it's the church is not going to fall apart, or even if the church had the church as, like, let's say, for example, tomorrow, poof, all of a sudden the Catholic Church just vanished off of the face of the earth. Do you think then that I wouldn't be a Christian? Of course not. Okay, and the same goes for Russell. If an earthquake had to happen and his church building had to collapse into the ground and stuff, he would still be a Christian. Okay, but as a broad sense, there's a tangible attack on the church and Christianity as a whole. That is definitely noticeable all around the world. What do you think, Russell?
Yeah, the attack is there, but to a large degree, and I'm not saying to a large degree, Christians don't even realize that it is under attack. They are not very, they're not, your general Christian in a church is not a very wise person. I'm being dead serious. Not very wise. The thing is, one of the arts of war is know your enemy. All right, study your enemy. Christians spend no time studying their enemy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Zero. They spend zero effort understanding and comparing why they think versus what all the other ideas are out floating around in the culture. And they need to, they're not trained to weigh everything up against what the Word of God says, or what they know to be correct as a Christian. So they don't have they're not wised up to the world around them, because in a sense a church is a safe place. All right. Essentially what it is like you said earlier, it is a building and a congregation where people congregate. And it actually allows people of similar beliefs to actually get comfort and relief from their which is a good thing. All right, but that comfort and relief is not there for you to go back and do nothing. It's so that you get replenished, so that you can go back into the fight. And this is what's obviously sort of missing from the broader Christian consensus, is they do not understand the world around them. I mean, the thing is, I had some major fallouts. I had the head of my church personally contact me and just tell me to cool it a bit on how I was going after people, and to be quite plainly, to be quite blunt, their ignorance and downright silliness regarding politics, some real dumb stuff. Basically, when you sit down and you start praising a government that is purely wicked and evil, all right, you are committing a serious sin of idolatry. You are calling evil good. You praise an evil man like Cyril Ramaphosa. I mean, that guy is wicked to the core. That is a wicked man.
I mean,
the thing is, what I'm getting at, this is just one example of what I'm getting at, is that the guys aren't trained well to actually understand what the hell's going on around them. I don't know what I don't have the answers. I'm just his.
Yeah, I think it's something, because I made a post on Facebook a while ago that Christians need to understand that we must be trained soldiers for Christ. Okay, and we need to understand our faith from beginning to end. Back to front. Like you say, it's not only knowing and understanding your enemy and stuff, but understanding your arsenal, like knowing how to use your weapon. You don't go into war or into a battle with a weapon that you've got no idea how to work and use. But I think Russell, specifically with regards to how a lot of Christians reacted to the lockdown and stuff, like a lot of the "Thank you, Mr. President" crowd and all of that, or the blatant misrepresentation of Romans 13 and stuff. I think what that boils down to is, and I've said this before in one of our episodes as well, is fear. Fear to not sort of put your faith absolutely in Christ. You know what I mean? And this is why you get a lot of Christians that are black-pilled, okay, negative about the world and all of that sort of thing, because they're fearful. They're scared of putting their faith in Christ. And I think that's where they're scared of losing their livelihoods. They're scared of speaking against the status quo, when we know that the status quo in South Africa is not a Christian status quo. Let's put it that way. And I think that a lot of Christians are scared to speak up against that. Yeah,
look, one of the things that you've got to look at is also what you said earlier, is the fear of the kind of being marginalized, etc. But let's just think of it, all right? What made the church strong was its ability to, in the first 2 or 3 centuries, was its actually ability to subvert the culture, all right? So I think what happens is it's taken about 2 centuries, almost 1,500, 1,600 years, 700 years. So we're back to where the early Christians were, where now it's us trying to we need to subvert the culture, all right? So there's that aspect as well. And also another thing is that, particularly in the 20th century, in the latter part of the 20th century, a lot of this, I don't know where it came from. It came about in the late 19th century, but really got into the church's second half of the 20th century, was the general defeat and retreat, don't worry, Jesus is coming back thing, rather than kingdom building, which was the philosophy of the early church. So there's this. So what happened a lot, and I think it happened specifically. I actually don't know where it came from. A lot of people point to the in the late, I think the 1890s, to the Schofield Bible, which is basically
the rapture and all of that bad eschatology stuff.
Yeah, look, that a lot of people point to that. And also, I think, because that was an American standard Bible, American issue Bible, when America became the dominant Anglosphere after the Second World War, a lot of their teaching and preaching, I'm talking specifically about the Anglosphere, ended up in Anglo-speaking churches. And you speak to people that were young Christians in like the 70s and 80s and that sort of thing. It was actually even stronger back then. Jesus is coming back. This, that, and the next thing. And it's interesting how one of the famous quotes that I can remember about eschatology, when I learned quite a bit about eschatology, was one of the famous quotes of Martin Luther. He said, if I knew Jesus was coming back tomorrow, today I would plant a tree. In other words, I'm going to continue building and expecting and sowing and expecting to reap a harvest until the very end.
Russell, this also ties in with being white-pilled and stuff. We were talking about, because Scott Tungay, I think I don't know if I'm saying it right, Tungay or whatever. He was just on Aaron Van Sale's show, Conscious Caracals show, and they were talking about being white-pilled, and the idea. And now this is important. I don't think if you were to ask, Russell, if you were to ask the average Christian, on the street, what is the purpose of man? What is the absolute purpose of man?
Man is here to glorify God. Simple.
Yeah, that's the
number one. every single Christian catechism, no matter how many questions there
starts with that. That's the first one.
That's the first one of every single Christian catechism there is.
So just to give you an idea over here, because I have the Catholic Catechism open now, and then I have the Westminster Catechism open as well, and it says, "What is the chief end of man? Man's chief end is to glorify God and enjoy Him forever." That is man's ultimate, why we were created. And most Christians won't be able to tell you that. If you were to ask them what was man created for, why was man created, they would say man was created to praise Jesus Christ or whatever it is, which is, it might sound nice, and yes, we do need to praise Jesus Christ, but our sole goal is to glorify God. Yes, praising Jesus Christ is part of glorifying Jesus, or glorifying God, but the idea is, sorry, I'm just reading a comment over here by Mrs. Maiden Name, okay, which says, which Catholic catechism are you using? Let me check quickly.
1680 or something like that.
Yeah, this is Catechism of the Catholic Church that I have open here. Hang on, let me tell you. I'll tell you in a sec. I don't know. I think this is second edition. I'm not sure. I'm not sure which one I have open here.
Westminster's 1689 or something like that.
Hang on, let me get to the top of here. No, it doesn't say here. Doesn't say. Anyway, but I think that most Christians.
I think it's actually. She says here, Baltimore Trent. I think it's the Council of Trent.
Yeah,
they issued that one after the Council of Trent, which would have been about 1680, 1690, 1650, around there somewhere. I think that's when the Council of Trent was.
Hang on, I'll tell you now. I can't find it. Doesn't matter. But I don't think that that a lot of Christians understand that or know that, so they're not prepared to go out there into the. You know, I was talking to a friend of mine recently, Russell, a mutual friend of ours, and he told me, oh, a friend of his now has, found the Lord, seen the light, and I said, oh, that's fantastic, that's amazing, that's great, and he said, well, this guy wants to go now and start ministering, and I said, you can't just okay, yes, I understand his heart is in a good place because he wants to go out and evangelize, but you can't, you just can't do that. I'm sorry.
I would say let him go out evangelize. Just don't do it alone. Do it in a group of experienced people. That's all. That's great that you want to find some people that are already doing it. You know what I mean? This, at the end of the day, church life and church ministry and the glory of God is a team sport. So, doing it all by yourself is actually not the way that God wants it done. He wants it done in teams. So the best thing you can do is actually just go with people who are very experienced, so yet you can learn. Anybody that's wants to learn about something, because there's skill in everything. There's the passion for it, and then there's the real skill for it. You know what I mean?
So he has a very interesting comment. Sorry, Russell. He has a very interesting comment by John Pontes. He says, churches are tone deaf and way behind the Marxists. They let divorce in the 60s go. Then feminism and homosexuals, etc., etc. They have now become bogged down and very hard to clean house and minds now.
No, so, it's hard to clean them. It is, but I mean, the thing is, that doesn't mean it can't be done.
So what? I mean, look, we're not supposed to be preaching a faith of defeatism. We're supposed to be preaching a faith of victory. So let's be victorious about this and carry on. We can't just give up and say, the Marxists got into the church.
Just I think we can do. Marxists are in. It's okay.
Yeah.
Let's go home.
Yeah, but there was, John, also interestingly enough, in South America or Latin America, the Catholic Church was in my mind pretty much destroyed by what's the theology? Sorry,
liberation theology.
Day. Yeah, liberation theology, pretty much destroyed. I mean, a lot of them,
my understanding is liberation theology actually comes out of South America, Cuba, and what have you.
Yeah. As far as I know, I mean, obviously the church infiltrated by the government and so on and so on. Liberation theology. Look, I've spent quite a lot of time in South America. My wife is from South America, from Peru, and you speak to an average Catholic over there. First of all, they don't know their faith, okay, and second of all, the ideas that they have are so far out and Marxist in nature. It's quite disturbing, actually.
Yeah, well, I think at least what the real scary part about this Marxism has its just a bit of a digression here. Marxism my understanding is the liberation theology of South America is very much an economic one, whereas it kept the culture intact. It didn't attack the culture that much, did it?
No, not culturally, but by culture you obviously mean. Look, it did certain aspects of the faith. They had to, I guess, not really change, but try and justify some sort of Marxist ideas and stuff like equality, all of these sort of things. You know, the church's understanding of equality versus the Marxist understanding of equality are two completely different things. But if you speak to the average Latin American Catholic, their understanding of equality is Marxism. You know, so the political sphere infiltrated the church so badly that and now you must understand this. This is also very important. Is the Catholic Church is Latin American culture. Like it is like their language and their church is it's Catholic and it's Spanish, or Catholic and Portuguese in Brazil. Okay, there's no middle grounds or whatever. It's controlled.
But what I'm getting at is that when the Marxists got into power politically in South America, all right, it was merely, I suppose that what I'm actually getting at is that it was merely economic. They didn't actually have a cultural revolution, really. It was, they only really attacked the economic side, or not?
No, they definitely attacked the cultural side.
Was it?
Definitely. Things like sex before marriage were now liberated. You know,
Okay.
things like
I actually thought that South America got away with a lot. It was just economic.
They've backpedaled now. They've gone full circle. Okay, well, not full circle yet, not quite yet, but there was a traditional revival, so an anti-liberation theology in South America, but and now it's kind of healing itself. But the older generation, so for example, my father-in-law, very interesting guy, actually was going to be a priest, and he went and spent time in seminaries, and it's interesting because he told me that the different seminaries that he went to, because he went to various different seminaries. He went to a seminary in Peru, he went to a seminary in Bolivia, and he stayed and worked in a seminary in Mexico as well. And he said every single seminary that you went to had a different cultural feel about it. And he said he couldn't quite understand it. But later on, I've now kind of put two and two together and said that they probably had just varying different degrees of liberation theology within them. So, the idea, they definitely influenced them culturally, because things like sex before marriage, things like, gosh, having a brain fart earlier, late night or long day, contraception and all of these things were like, you know, unheard of, absolutely unheard of.
Look,
and then you know, a sexual liberation happened in South America.
That's one of the. I didn't know that they had as much as hectic as. I know that they had a lot of because we don't really, like in our sort of news. I just knew that they had a lot of communist uprisings and then counter uprisings and all that sort of thing. And my understanding was, from the outside, it always seemed to be more. Obviously, we never knew the real details, but it always seemed to be more of an economic thing than anything else, you know. But like I say, it's very seldom that demonic people like Marxists leave any stone unturned. So it makes perfect sense. You know, they're ruthless. They go for the culture, they go for the economy, they go for everything.
Yeah, this interesting comment over here, Mrs. Maiden Name said Second Vatican Council. Yes. The Second Vatican Council was a dog show, an absolute, you know, abomination. There was I don't know if you saw the letter, Russell, written that Archbishop Vigano wrote to Donald Trump about about the
Yeah, he
movement.
said.
Yeah.
I didn't actually read the whole letter. It was basically just saying, I can't remember
It was
exactly what he
basically
wrote.
just saying that the Catholic Church has moved away from what true Catholicism is, and it needs a reformation back to true, Catholicism and stuff. And
Yeah, what I mean, the thing is, it's going to, these things always wax and wane. That's what people don't realize.
yes, Iglesia siempre reformada. It was Augustine, I think, that said that. So, yes, there is a second letter that Vigano wrote. I don't think I've read that second letter, but I'll have to give it a check out, Mrs. Maiden Name. But yeah, the gosh, what was I saying now before I changed my mind? It's lost my frame of thought over there. Anyway.
But I mean, the thing is, that's another issue as well, is the churches. The problem is as well, churches have to be very, very aware that politicians actually, and governments and that sort of thing, always seem to want to either A, keep the church as silent as possible, or B, actually undermine and persecute it. So,
well, it's basically replace. They try to either control the religion, or they try to replace it with another form of religion.
Well, you see, the thing is, the church is another form of government, you see, which is in opposition to them, and that's what Christians don't understand, is that the state is your enemy, because it is. They're not there. 9 times out of 10 throughout the world, at times, the Church of the Lord Jesus Christ and the state have often clashed.
So Sideline Opinions made a very good post or comment over there. He says, once politics infiltrates the church loses its way and its mission. No religion should ever be politically correct. I agree.
Yeah, 100%. Well, this is the thing. The problem is that politicians and the state and the church are two separate governments, all right, that are supposed to, as a lot of people would say, there's supposed to be a symphony of church and state, not necessarily a separation, but a good relationship, but still separate. They got their own spheres. But the problem is, those that lust for power leave no stone unturned. And when you're dealing with a bunch of Marxists like we are in South Africa, I think some people are aware of the sort of opposition that's going to come to the church. They're going to go in South Africa. They're going to go for the church last. So they're going to go for property, which is all property without compensation. They're going to go for the healthcare. They're going to go for private schools. Eventually they're going to come for the church. They're going to nationalize the church. It sounds ridiculous, but they are going to nationalize the church. They already wanted to bring out legislation for the regulation of the church, which is basically nationalization light, which is what we...
Yeah, look, look, here's the thing, Russell, is I don't believe in a state church. Okay.
No, well, we don't believe in a state church, but I mean, the thing is, the fact is, like I said, there's supposed to be a good relationship between the state and the church.
Well, you can't remove God from governments. That's the thing.
No, well, that's exactly what I'm saying. A good relationship, but they've got different spheres of influence and different roles. Okay, clearly defined roles within the greater society. And they should not transgress each other's roles, but that doesn't mean that the church cannot criticize the state either. Get what I'm saying? The state is wicked. If the state is wicked, the state must be called wicked. You know what I mean? This is the thing. And a lot of Christian leaders, I don't think, are aware of what's encroaching towards them. It's, they are our government of Marxists at the moment They slowly but surely. I mean, they've accelerated the last couple of years, but they are definitely. The churches are not going to be left alone. You are not going to be left alone. Better get into the fight now.
Yeah, this is the thing: is we need strong Christian leaders to stand up. Otherwise, if they if they're willing to submit the way that they've submitted this entire lockdown, churches are in deep trouble. If this is a testament, or the way that churches as a whole behaved during this lockdown, we're in a lot of trouble. Okay.
Yeah, we are very much in a lot of trouble.
Oaks need to now catch a wake up and realize that, hey, Romans 13 ain't quite what it piped out to be. You know what I mean?
I don't know. Did I ever show you that? Did I ever show you that meme?
Which meme?
The one when persecution comes, we will remain faithful to gather for worship.
You didn't show it to me.
I wonder if it can show up on the camera here.
So, Sideliner Opinions mentioned something over here which is quite smart. He says the church should be one of the watchdogs keeping government in line, but they are feeding the crocodile. This is Russell. You actually said this the other day. They're feeding the crocodile.
It's an old African saying.
Yeah, 100% Sideliner Opinions. That is correct.
Can you see that?
Hold it still, bro. You're swaying and stuff. Like you did with COVID-19. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. The Oaks just, and it's.
I remember I shocked the living daylights out of a fellow Christian believer when they asked me once, "Oh, okay, but are you praying for President Cyril Ramaphosa?" I said, "Yeah, well, yes, but I pray two things. I pray for his salvation, but once I'm finished praying for his salvation, I say, God, if you're not going to save him, I pray imprecatory psalms over the guy."
Yes, and I also have prayed my imprecatory psalms quite a lot this lockdown.
I mean, it's like that one psalm where it says break the teeth, that type of thing,
Say that again, Russell. Sorry, you broke up there. I didn't hear you.
It's a part where it says in the Psalms, break their teeth in their mouth, smash them, smash the teeth in their mouths,
I get quite tired of the Christian idea of this this odd. And I'm sure people in the comments section know what I'm talking about over here. This odd person that walks around with a guitar with this like weird smile on their face, and just G D A B G D A B on the guitar. Like can play like 4 chords on the guitar and sing a cool song and all of that. People know this guy, okay, and that is. I'm sorry, that's just not going to cut it, guys. It's just not going to cut it. Sorry. So at the moment, I see in the comments section over here, Mrs. Maiden Name and Sideline Opinions are having I wouldn't call it an argument. They're discussing, if everyone is if everyone is equal before God. Okay, now if you say that someone is equal before God, yes, Mrs. Maiden Name, there are various degrees of equalness or equality, I guess. We spoke about it on our show many times before. We speak about the great chain of being, and that explains everything that you guys are discussing right now. So just go and look up the great chain of being, and you will see all of that stuff. All of that stuff is in there.
Yeah,
I see whosoever will let him take the water of life says, I pray for our government daily. Let his days be few, and let another take his office. Yeah, Psalm 109. That is a standard issue imprecatory psalm that you can pray while you're busy washing dishes or whatever. You can pray while you're driving. It's a good one. I like that one.
No, look, I mean, the thing is, and just to be clear, these are 100% my views. My congregational church does not support my views. So,
okay, look. Okay, here's the thing. Okay, I don't think I know for a fact that my congregation doesn't share my views as well. I mean, this is the thing. We're not idealists. Sorry, dodgy
no,
idealist. We're not going to try and imagine that all Christians are just going to think the same. It's
just not going to happen.
It's just not how things work. But if you do understand the teachings of the church, you do understand church history. I mean, imagine what the early Christians. Imagine what if that Kumbaya guy with the guitar that can play G, D, A, B. Imagine what we would have looked like now if the early Christians had have been that type of guy. Just think about it. How, I mean, obviously the church.
Well, look, you can do those things. You can do those things provided that there is something meaningful happening around that. You know what I mean? You can worship like that, but it's provided there's something of meaning still going on. It's not just, that's not the only thing that you're doing. It's not just a single experience, but a daily, weekly, monthly, eternal experience of faith that you're leading. But yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those difficult ones. I think that we've got to come back to the idea of the church, a faith of victory. All right, the eschatology of defeat must go. All right. And that Christians must commit themselves to bringing about God's glory again. And I think that's very simply dismiss that the defeatist any defeatist eschatology, all right, and bring about a idea. Before we even think about anything else, that's what's got to change. You can't have until that happens, you're gonna just be a revving engine at the starting line.
No, I agree 100%. The idea that there's a clear tone of victory throughout the Bible. I mean, it's clear there. So where do you think this idea of this weird sort of submissive stuff comes from? Where it's strange. It's so bizarre. Is it just that?
I think what happens is people
lovable and huggable.
I think there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things. I think we've spoken about it there's two things. One thing is that Christians want to believe the best of everybody all the time. Okay, they want to build with people all the time. They want to be great. What do you call it? Community builders and all this sort of, which are all good and noble things, all right. But you cannot. There's a narrow gate which through things must work, all right. And you can have all. The narrow gate is everybody's got to have an understanding of how authority works and how God delivers his authority down through society. Until you understand that, okay, you're going to get people just trying to be good the whole time, just trying to be nice the whole time, okay. You've got you as a Christian have actually got the responsibility because you're Christ's servant on the earth, you've got the responsibility to maintain the authority of God. Okay, so it's like this. An easier one to explain is the husband and wife hierarchical relationship. Okay, that's the easiest one to explain. That's just another form of delegated authority. All right. God is ultimately the authority above both the husband and the wife. The husband is an authority over the wife. All right. But the wife is still responsible, that she's an authority to God, and she's actually, and this might a lot of people might disagree with me here, but she is actually also responsible in her own area of authority, to use her area of authority to bring her husband into line if her husband is out of line.
No, of course.
Now,
that's everyone.
So that is how it should work with the state and state leaders as well. Okay, we might be under the state in terms of God's delegated authority, but we are nonetheless still responsible to maintain the authority of God. We don't need to now become. We've still got to be under God as well. So we can't be revolutionaries and disobey God. Get what I'm saying? We can't go outside of what God's authority is. Okay, but within our own authority that's delegated to us, okay, we can bring those that are above us, or who we are submitted beneath, into line. And a lot of
John Pontus says, I think someone has been praying for George Soros too. He's in his 80s and still organizing riots worldwide.
Hey, wait, is this JP De Silva?
I don't know. You're giving this secret YouTube's
I think
away.
It's
trying to hide away in his YouTube stuff. But Sideliner Opinions also made an interesting comment. I'm not going to get into the comment itself and the substance of the comment, but what I want to add to that as well. So he said, we must be careful to think that we know exactly how the afterlife is going to be structured. No single church should claim that only their followers will be allowed into heaven. Yes, Calvinists.
No, but I mean, the thing is, we're not talking denominations here.
No. So the reason why I brought that comment up, okay, don't get your Calvinist feathers in a rustle over there, Russell. But anyway, the reason why I brought that up is because I think that it's unhealthy for us as Christians to fight interdenominationally. Okay, we need to start focusing on our fundamentals as Christians. Okay, and the fundamentals has always been the creed. You know, I believe in one God, the Father Almighty, Maker of heaven and earth. Well, those are the fundamentals of Christian faith. Okay, and if we can focus on those sort of there, John Pontes, yeah, ooh. JP De Silva, we know who John Pontes is. Yeah, I've seen your comments on on Reactionary Opinions Facebook page. You're nice and based. Welcome, JP. So, gosh, what was I saying now? About the interdenominational stuff. Stop interrupting me there, JP, man. So the interdenominational stuff, I think it's important that we focus on the fundamentals of Christianity and how we can work on building on that. You know what I mean? Instead of this weird petty fighting between denominations and you're a Catholic, you worship Mary and all this nonsense and stuff. You know, people. First of all, people don't understand. You don't understand the first thing about Catholicism, you know.
Well, I mean, the thing is, you must remember, I'm the lowest of the low here. All right, I've got the most hated theology in the world.
Well, look, Russell, we've been talking a lot lately, okay, and a lot of your Calvinist stuff, I can firmly align with Catholic doctrine. So,
man, it was within. it was basically, do you think that the things that Luther and Calvin and these guys came up with had never been discussed within the church before?
Ah,
It's just
course.
it was just a finite, it was just a sharpening of Augustine's theology. That's all it was.
It's exactly that. But I mean, you know, the idea of, because I mean, look, guys, and this is also a misconception, you know, that the Catholic Church is anti-Reformation or or not reformist and stuff. The Catholic Church understands and knows very well that the Church is always changing and reforming. You know, like I said, it was Augustine that said "Semper reformada, Ecclesia semper reformada." I think it was him. They theorized that it was him that said it in not so many words, but apparently it was some German guy in the 1700s or something that made it official and stuff. But the Catholic Church understands and knows that the Church is always changing and always reforming. Okay, Bishop Baron, what's his name? Bishop Barron, I think his name is. He said that what happened at the Reformation with Martin Luther was just basically bad timing. There were really actually just cuck oaks in the Catholic Church at the time, and they weren't having any of Martin Luther's 95 thesis. They weren't, you know, they just weren't having any of it. But they would have wanted and preferred if, well, now looking back at it, that if he basically started a Lutheran sect, I guess, of within the church, probably would have been a better situation.
No, but they probably would have, like I say, I mean, the thing is, you must remember that there is the but generally with churches, all right, how can I put it? The doctrinal differences are family affairs. Okay, so family affairs are family affairs. They're internal, right? Okay. Externally, all right, to protect the family, we all stand together. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So doctrine matters unless you know, I'm talking people that can that would hold to Nicene Creed or to the Apostles' Creed or those sorts of things. Essentially, what it is our differences are family affairs. Okay.
Exactly. It's exactly.
They are family. They are family affairs. Now, a family, when it sees an outside threat, okay, doesn't let internal family dynamics and that sort of thing. A family will group together, even though that they have these differences. All right, the differences aren't bigger than the opposition, than the threat of the opposition, or the force coming against. Get what I'm saying? And I think that is also, I think Christians just haven't woken up yet to the idea that no matter what, they're if you're not going to look, like I say, the faithful, the real faithful, they're going to be scattered amongst all the denominations, the real faithful. Okay, that's my opinion. Firstly, the faithful are going to be, the Lord's faithful are going to be scattered amongst all the denominations. Okay. Mm-hmm. And the Lord's only coming back. You know, the Lord said, "Will I find faith in the earth when I return?" He's coming back for the faithful. He's not coming back for the
denomination,
or for the hangers-on in the denominations.
Yeah, that's why. That's why, like we said earlier on, if you wake up tomorrow and the Catholic Church was gone, poof, I bet you there'd be a lot of Catholics that would just be like, "Okay, they're gone. I'm no longer a Catholic, or I'm no longer a Christian." You know what I mean? But
well, yeah, look, there would be that. But what I'm getting at is that you know, one of the if you read Paul's letters and all this sort of thing, it was so much of an encouragement to get people to see to maintain the faith to the end. You know, a lot of people look at the revelation to John. The revelation to John was actually written to Christians right at the end to say, keep the faith. That was basically the idea. So how people could get an eschatology of defeat out of the revelation of John astounds me, because the whole reason it was written for was to encourage the Christians at the time. There's so many stories of the apostles' writings where they write things like, I mean, Paul's letter where he was anguishing over his brothers in the other apostles scattered all over Judea and Asia Minor and the Roman Empire and that sort of thing, and he was thinking about them. He was saying, look, he actually wrote and he actually said, look, I'm not a married man. I don't have these concerns, and for me, it's actually better. He was referring. I suspect he was actually referring to his fellow apostles who were stuck. The other apostles had wives and families. People forget that. Peter had a wife and family.
that's true.
All these guys. And what people don't understand is that Paul wrote to them and he said, "Well, I feel for you guys." It wasn't so much a letter about his own unmarriedness. It was more out of a concern for the others. But here's the thing. Even though the others' walk might have been more difficult in terms of what Paul was saying, they still ran to the end. They still saw the race through, regardless. We can't have a situation, and that's a lot what Christians, difference between Christians of the first century and Christians of now is that in the first century, Christians didn't have anything to lose. Nowadays, we've got something to lose. You know what I mean? And people weigh these things up, and their faith is not for, and they choose the path of least resistance. But what they don't realize is that over a long enough timeline, that path to least resistance is going to result in their destruction anyway. Either at the end, where they don't finish to the end and end up in hell, okay, or they literally fall away into apostasy, okay, or they actually the culture around them basically engulfs them, and they lose everything that they had anyway on this earth: family, wealth, prosperity, etc.
Talking about that, and no, before someone comments on the line, Russell's not like, because that your last word there was prosperity. Russell's not preaching prosperity gospel now or anything. Yeah.
No, certainly not. I'm just saying their present prosperity will be lost anyway.
Absolutely. So I wanted to the last sort of few minutes that we have left of this live stream, I wanted to talk why at this point in time, because I've noticed, me personally, because remember we said that it's our jobs as Christians now to sort of subvert the culture, and it has to be done, okay? And I've noticed myself personally a gaping hole in culture at the moment that is ripe for subversion, because people are starting to realize, and they're thinking, oh, hang on, all the stuff that this government is doing, just everything that's going around me, all this Marxism and stuff that I'm seeing around me is just absurd, like in the most bizarre way, that it's unbelievable. Like I literally cannot believe this, what's going on. Okay. Then what they've started doing now is they've started moving away. So 2005, the hard militant atheist was like the in thing. Like that was like
that was peak Dawson. What's his name? Dawkins. Peak Dawkins.
Yeah, all of those oaks were like all of the famous celebrities of atheism and stuff. Like Dylan was like, it's him. Oh my gosh, it's him. But
packing out conference centers, all sorts of things.
Out conference centers and stuff, and evangelizing for atheism and stuff. Yeah, Richard Dawkinism. Yeah,
just like Richard Dawkins.
Isn't he the guy that got up? Isn't he the guy that got up in front of that big crowd and told us that Christians should be mocked and all of that? Yeah, nice.
Yeah, well, he also sponsored. I remember he had a whole campaign we had ads on the bus, the red buses in London, saying, "Relax, God doesn't exist, so enjoy your life."
But anyway, I don't know if you guys in the comments and stuff, because I'm assuming we've probably got mostly Christians listening to the show right now. But comment in this thing and tell me if I'm on the right page over here, because I've noticed in my interactions with my friends, some of my friends that are atheist or what they would call these days agnostic, and they've come and they've actually asked me proper, good, solid questions about my faith and started asking me, not mockingly, not like, they not like, you believe I'm going to hell, not mocking, legitimate, honest questions, because they feel so incredibly lost in the world around them. Because if you observe this world that we live in today, everything that is natural law has been taken and completely toppled, and humans are attracted to natural law. We're inherently religious people, so we seek to be led, and we seek for something, some sort of truth. Okay, and we seek that through religion. And I've had really interesting conversations with friends of mine who, a few years back were like hardcore militant atheists and stuff. Some of them are just, outright degenerates and are not interested in changing their lives. So they just, carry on doing what they need to do. But some of them, who are married and have children and have a vested interest in making sure that they make the right decisions in life, have come to me and said to me, listen, Scott, all the stuff that you've been saying all these years, I'm starting to realize some of them are true. Do you think there is a gap in the world now for Christianity to now come and subvert the authority or subvert the culture?
Well, I think so, because just look at Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life. I mean, that book did nothing other than, those 12 rules was nothing other than plagiarizing common sense. So the world is ripe for subversion by, and I'm using 12 Rules for Life not as an example of Christian doctrine
Amazing
or theology,
literature.
but
Yeah.
I'm using it as an example how something that is actually supposed to be common sense can be used so effectively. And that's an example, and basically everybody was going, wow, and I'm going like, I read the book myself, and I was like, it's a good book, but I mean, the thing is, I generally speaking, there was nothing that profound in it that I didn't see as basically common sense. As someone from 40 years ago, 50 years ago would have read this and said, gee, I should have written this book, and made a fortune, get what I'm saying?
Yeah, dodgy idealist is plagiarizing common sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson plagiarized common sense. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, plagiarized common sense. And so, like what you said, everything being chaos around, you can actually speak into that chaos, because like I say, we've got the built-in ability to see things, to actually understand things. We are created in God's image. So we naturally want order. We naturally want to progress towards order. So even though there's the other part of our nature holds us back, deep down in the godly sort of parts of human nature, there's a connection which can be revived.
Hang on, Russell. Cheers, Sideline Opinions. Thanks for coming, bro.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, Russell, carry on. So, whosoever will let him take the water of life. Geez, it's a long name, bro. I'm just going to call you whosoever from now on, okay? No atheists in foxholes, as the saying goes. That's correct. Right now, all those people, they are in foxholes right now. They are surrounded by this, and they're realizing it's all a bunch of nonsense. They're all realizing that this world is too radical. And by radical, I mean radically against the laws of nature, that that all of this stuff can't be real. I mean, sure, if you're a degenerate that just wants to live your life, willy-nilly and do whatever you want to, then by all means,
Yeah.
carry on,
No,
be
for sure.
degenerate,
Yeah. Look, in a way, all this, in a strange way, in a strange way, with all what's going on around the world, the chaos and the disorder and all that sort of thing, there's a part of me that's actually going like this, Scott. Yes.
Yeah. Look, let's not Russell a little bit of an accelerationist, I guess. I wouldn't really call him an accelerationist. I would call him a optimist in chaos. That's what I would call him.
No, it's just like I struggle with hurry up and wait. You know what I mean?
Look, but Russell,
it's like I've been sitting here sharpening my sword for years now. I'm tired now. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, put your sword to action now, Russell. You've got it. Your sword is nice and sharp. Put it to action. Action.
Action.
Yeah, these beards are getting quite mean these days, Russell. Look at it. You look like we're from ZZ Top over here. These massive big beards. Mine's a grey one. Russell's is a red beard. Russell's Welsh blood coming through in him over there. Red beard. Yeah, so does anyone have any other questions and stuff in the comments? Thanks so much, guys, for listening. We really appreciate it.
Some of these guys actually stayed with us, I think, probably the whole blimmin' cast.
Yeah, we had I think we got up to about 8 listeners and stuff. So that's impressive. We're getting better and better. Guys, if you in the stream or whatever, or if you are watching or whatever, or if you watch this video, please share this content. I mean, look, myself and Russell are not theologists, majors, or we're not priests or pastors or anything. We're not amazing guys and stuff. We're just 2 Christian oaks who like to talk cuck on a YouTube channel, you know what I mean? And we this is the way that you're seeing me and Russell talking now is literally how we talk to each other when we hang out together. Like if we're brying and stuff, this is the sort of stuff we talk about. And Russell just looks like some Saxon Viking.
Ragnar, man, Ragnar.
Russell, at one stage, will you be? Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Okay, will you guys be handling the Reformation, or did you guys handle it in the past? We haven't really spoken about the Reformation because we're not really
no, that's a little bit. It's not something I want to wade into because it starts. You go down a very, very deep rabbit hole with arguments and counter arguments. It takes a long time to get to the bottom. It's not that simple as what people make it out to be.
No, it really isn't.
And yeah, it's just it's a long process. That would take probably I reckon about 5 or 6 1-hour episodes to get through. I kid you not, it will take a long time.
No, it's true, because we'd have to go through the entire, because the idea that Martin Luther was the first reformist in the church is ridiculous, or John Calvin, or any of those guys.
No. They started with like long before that. You had John Wycliffe and all those other guys as well. Long before that.
But that's, look, dodgy idealist. We're not a doctrine show, so we're not here.
We're not here to
and stuff. We're here to talk about the fundamentals. Like I said, we're here to talk about the fundamentals of being a Christian.
No, we're talking as how the family should express itself in public.
Correct, and it's interesting that myself and Russell are family, and we are both 2 different denominations, and we seem to get along perfectly fine, apart from the fact that I give him a good old clap every now and then. Hey, Russell. Yeah, but this was fun. I enjoyed this. I really did. I thought we went through quite a bit of the things. So in summary, I would say in my closing remarks, Russell, you can give Actually, you give closing remarks first. I'll go I'll go last.
Yeah, look, I'm just gonna say if you are a Christian and you want to understand the world around you, you really should be educating yourself. You'd have to get ready for what is about to come. It's not going to go away, all right? This fight is your fight. It's not going to go away, and you must be ready when the whistle blows to go over the top.
Yeah, that's hardcore, Russell. That is hardcore.
This is we're not playing games.
Yeah, we're not playing games yet. But yeah, I'd have to agree with Russell. Prepare yourself, because you have to be a soldier for Christ. Learn and understand the acts of the church, or the acts of Christianity. So the creation, the formation of the church, or the covenant, the first covenant, the formation of Israel, all of these things, Christ coming, the fulfillment, all of these things. Understand and know the act of your faith and of the church and all of that, and it'll all start working out. But train yourself, become a soldier for Christ.
Yeah.
And
prepare to defend yourself.
Prepare to defend yourself, yeah. And never back down, guys. Never back down. We're supposed to be, this is the thing, is as Christians, we're supposed to be, even if we're, like Russell said it on one of the shows before, even if we're outnumbered 1,000,000-1, we're supposed to have no fear. Stand tall, like the Templars.
Yeah, look, I mean, that is the thing, and that's just, I don't think that's what you're called to do. That's what all the faithful have done through the ages,
Don't give up. And yes, we will keep preaching an eschatology of victory on this channel. If you guys came here for kumbaya and guy playing guitar and stuff, you've come to the wrong place, my friend. This is a place where based Christians meet, and
it's an outlet.
Whosoever asked out of interest, what denominations are you guys? I joined late. We did say it in the beginning, but just for you. So there's 3 of us in the show. There's myself, Russell, and Dylan. Dylan is Eastern Orthodox. Russell is Calvinist, and I am Catholic. So we have a good mix of the denominations, and I think it provides for a fantastic dynamic on the show. I've always said this: we are an amazing trio, and it creates a fantastic dynamic on our show. But share this with anyone who's a Christian, guys, and go through our channel and our videos and stuff, and you'll see that there's a standard trend that goes along all of the videos that we do, and that is a reactionary trend, I guess, how would you say it? So Christian based, but check John Pontus. I don't want to be blasphemous over here, but yeah, okay, the Trinity, I guess. But don't want to be blasphemous, not quite the Trinity, but yeah, I get you. But yeah, go check out our videos and stuff. I'm actually busy working on it. It's actually quite soul destroying, not soul destroying. It's difficult to do. I'm busy working on a video on pornography. And every time I send a message in our group, WhatsApp group and stuff, I say, "Oh, this working on my porn video is really, really annoying me and stuff." But it sounds bad. But no, it's a video that I'm doing about the damaging effects of porn, and I'm actually going to be doing interestingly enough, I've decided to do it like this. I've decided to do a history of pornography, and then tied in with what is a man. What is a man's urges? How do you control those urges? All of that sort of thing. and it's going to be quite interesting. Well, I hope it's going to be quite interesting. I put a lot of time into these things, and but it's dragging on, so it might take me a bit of time to finish it, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, look, it's
anyway.
Okay,
Yeah,
Scott. Let's wrap this.
Cool. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. God bless you. Stay reactionary out there, because
God wills it.
God wills it.